Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your OBC, your original Boruto Chief Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex full spoiler breakdown, which big shouts out to Ryan, Salad Bolts, and Felix for the information this month. We got a lot to unpack here, from Kurama and Himawari versus Mamushi, Boruto's massive power-up in the battle against Mamushi, and Konohamaru basically remaking that spot from that super OG 90s movie Menace to Society, where he basically gets himself caught by Lord Kobu during the Mitsuki interrogation. As always, like I do with all the spoiler videos, I'll touch on the things that really stood out, and for the things that I want to double check or I have deeper thoughts on, I'll be saving that for the review, which should be out 2 to 3 days after you're seeing this video, because the review editor typically needs 48 hours to get the 2 Blue Vortex reviews up to the quality that you guys have come to expect from those reviews. So I thank you in advance for your patience and your understanding. We don't care about being first, we just want to maintain that quality that you've gotten in the past. Also, it should go without saying, the chapter does drop on the 18th this month, so 2 days from now. And it is free to read on Shueisha's Manga Plus app and on the Viz Media Shonen Jump app. Again, both of these are free to use, free to read the current chapters, and I'll forever die on the hill. We are in the golden era to support the official release, since we are getting same-day releases officially, and for free at that, particularly on Manga Plus. Anybody that remembers Manga Panda and all these other websites where we had to read scanlations back in the 2000s and 2010s, you know that this is a really big deal. This is not sponsored, but for $2.99 a month, I pay to access basically 95% of the entire Shonen Jump catalog spanning 57 years of titles. That is an absolute bargain. So with the maintenance out of the way, let's dive into the full spoiler breakdown. The first thing we have to talk about is that big elephant in the room. Boruto and Momoshiki's deal has been brought back up, and we get more information on the terms of that deal that Momoshiki made with Boruto. Basically, Momoshiki let it be known that he is willing and he will kill Kawaki, because he's not dumb enough to think that Boruto would just hand his body over to Momoshiki and that Kawaki would not try to kill him right after that. However, even Momoshiki knows that these awakened Shinju, all of them, they are a threat to both his existence and to Boruto's, which is why he's telling Boruto, I'm going to agree to work with you. Now, the benefit to this is exactly what you and I would have expected. Boruto is now able to freely use the Koma seal, and Momoshiki will not take the opportunity to hijack his body as a result, which confirms what Boruto previously suspected to be the case, which is that when he previously tried to use the Koma, and every time it flared up after, he was running the risk of basically a backdoor way for Momoshiki to hijack control over his body. So this entire time, Boruto has been fighting with one arm tied behind his back, but now those restraints are gone. We are getting Boruto unleashed. Boruto not only gets full access to the power of Koma, but Momoshiki tells him to feel free to use whatever power of Momoshiki's that Boruto wants, and he will not interfere, which means that entire 1,000 years of combat ability, knowledge, and the skills that were required from eating thousands of chakra fruits over millennia, they're now at Boruto's disposal in a fight should Boruto choose to want to use them. Boruto doesn't waste any time here either. When the battle ramps up, he's getting right to it. When we're not seeing him just straight up ore farming by staring down the Mamushi clones with smoke swirling around him and looking like Momoshiki wants to break out and say the most racist thing ever at the sight of a talking Shinju tree, Boruto's busting out some rather impressive moves. For starter, he's finally shown mastery of the Shuriken Jutsu that Sasuke tried to teach Boruto that he was unable to do in part 1, in the manga version at least, where Boruto throws the shuriken, bounces them off of each other to form a curve to send them flying right into the eyes of a Mamushi clone, before the guy then simultaneously uses the flying Raijin to teleport and he lops off the head. He's also busting out a super giant Rasengan to take down the Mamushi clones. He's even, for the first time ever in the manga, using Momoshiki's byakugan to make his movements more fluid. Which, interesting note here, when he activates the byakugan, the veins are not shown on the side of the head. Something only unique to Boruto, because this is not just a Ikimoto artistic depiction either. Because when Ishiki and Momoshiki have activated their byakugans, we do see veins on the side of the head. So Boruto activating the eye with no veins is something I do think we have to keep our eyes on, because for as much as Ikimoto does reference the Dragon Ball manga as a blueprint for his battles, if you've read Dragon Ball, you know exactly how the fighting is a huge love letter to Dragon Ball. Look no further than Naruto versus Delta basically being a homage to Goku versus Master Roshi in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. But he's also said in the same interviews that he does reference Naruto's manga a lot as well. So this is something intentional. Boruto is also zipping around pretty much the entire time flexing, but what's interesting here is that Boruto, he's putting in a lot of effort with these Mamushi clones, and he's going deep into his bag to do so, and that should matter because it lines up with what we've been told before. These Shinju are strong, extremely strong, and we're seeing it with these Mamushi clones, because as a reminder, this isn't like the shadow clone jutsu where, say, you split your chakra into 3 shadow clones in yourself, so your chakra split evenly 25% between yourself and the 3 shadow clones. The Mamushi clones operate like Madara's limbo clones. They're all at 100% power and have the full bag of jutsu to use should they choose to do so. There's a reason Kashin Koji previously said that they need to devise a strategy to get these Shinju to lower their guards. And even Boruto himself let it be known when taking down Matsuri that it wouldn't have been this easy had her guard not been lowered enough for the damage to be done. We're seeing this with Mamushi. These beasts, when they're fully on guard, when they are bloodlusted, they are a problem. It's not just Boruto who's having a bit of a hard time with these Shinju too. Even Kawaki is having to exert a pretty decent amount of force against these Shinju. After we get Kawaki attempting his own ore farming moment where he sends chakras through the skulls of a pair of Mamushi clones, destroying their eyes in the process, 7 more Mamushi clones gang up on the guy, and we see Kawaki using his ninja tech, and he's attempting to fight them all off while using his Karma Seal for an additional boost in power. But just as Boruto had to go deep into his bag to maintain the upper hand, so too is Kawaki, who is having to shrink himself down to 1 inch in size by using Sukuna Hikona, zip around, resize, and then shoot chakra rods through the eyes, and then bust out the chakra staff to take on the rest of them. Boruto and Kawaki, both these boys, they are in control of their fights, but these battles, while they are ending quickly and decisively, they are being handled with a level of aggression and power output that basically makes you look at Jura as well as Mamushi when Mamushi isn't using clones in a different light, particularly the latter, because the drawback to these clones is that they have a weakness that Boruto and Kawaki are able to perfectly exploit, which is the more clones that Mamushi makes, the intelligence of the clones, they nosedive. So whereas shadow clones split the chakra evenly, the clones, they split their intelligence, which basically means that they're fighting mindless clones operating off of sheer primal instinct. Basically, think of it like having a wild boar that Ganin are sent out on missions to corral. The boar is strong enough that it could kill them, but the IQ is low enough that if you understand how it thinks, you can offset the danger level with the right set of strategy, teamwork, and the time movements. But the fact that both of these boys are having to use the Karma Seal, and both of them are significantly stronger than when they fought Jigen, particularly Kawaki, who is in the process of getting another power amp by Amato before the invasion, that does make you wonder what a full IQ Mamushi would be able to do. Now, the other thing here is that the Mamushi that we're seeing has made more than what Kashin Koji told Shikamaru is the ideal number of clones. He planned for 20 to 30 Mamushi clones, but Mamushi has busted out a full 50 clones, which means the horny levels that Mamushi has for Ada, they are far greater than Kashin Koji and Shikamaru were able to anticipate. But thankfully for Ada, Mamushi, he's going to have to fight multiple Konoha shinobi out there in full force trying to protect her. And not to be outdone, even Boruto's younger sister Himawari is out there throwing down in the chapter. This time she is actively tapping into the Ninetails chakra without the rage amp. And we see it in her facial features and the way that her hair is flaring up. But what I personally like about this is that even though she is the least experienced out the members of Team 10, we see her taking the lead due to her being the strongest one there. And we see the natural talent that she has as a shinobi on full display here, and I personally like it. I like it a lot. Longtime viewers of the channel know that I was not the biggest fan of Himawari becoming a shinobi back in Boruto Part 1. I have since moved my stance on that. So in the past, I made the comparison with Himawari to Son Gohan from the Dragon Ball manga, but the more I see her fight and how quickly she picks things up in a battle setting versus not picking up as fast in a training setting, she reminds me more of what Toriyama did with his version of Broly that we saw in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie that Akira Toriyama wrote, and the version of Broly that appeared in the Dragon Ball Super manga. Just as Broly was a character that learned to fight and got better fighting as he was in actual combat, Himawari appears to be doing the same thing. There's more fluidity and sharpness with her movements here against Mamushi than when she was battling Jura. However, for all the pom-pom waving that I'm doing here, I do think it's important to note that given Boruto's being told specifically to go to Himawari's location to back her up, I do think there's something to be said about how well we can expect her to do in battle, which makes me think back to what we saw in that alternate timeline. Himawari was dead. So it does make sense for someone like Boruto to be sent to assist her, because she's not going to be able to take down this many Mamushi clones on her own, even with Shikadai and Chocho there to assist. Based on the pages that I've got, it looks as if there are 4 or 5 Mamushi clones here, and it's just basic math. Himawari has to hard carry the members of Team 10, and if you want to highball the hell out of Himawari and say that she's relative to Mamushi, that's not enough to outright stomp the entire team of 4 or 5 Mamushi clones at the same time. In order for someone to take down a whole collective of people that are all the same tier as each other, or in this case, as strong as one another, you've got to be significantly higher than them. Jigen with the fully transformed full power version 2 Karma was a whole 2 tiers above Naruto and Sasuke. Hence, it was only 5 fully powered hits in the manga that knocked them out. It left Sasuke near death after 2 hits and Naruto unable to maintain his chakra mode after 3 hits. Edo Tensei Madara was also 2 tiers above the 5 Kage, but he never went full power. He was playing around with them, and that's why the fight dragged on as long as it did. A more accurate thing for Himawari would be to say, if you're highballing her, is to take a look at Sage Mode Jiraiya with no intel, going at the entire 6 Paths of Pain at once. So fully powered Sage Mode Jiraiya against all the 6 Paths of Pain. And that's only if you're assuming that Himawari is as strong as Mamushi, or because it's the Jiraiya comparison, Jiraiya was in that same tier as the collective 6 Paths of Pain. Behind them, but in the same tier. It's a high difficulty win. If you think that Himawari is a tier below, then that's basically like saying that Heavy Sasuke, so that's Sasuke with the Curse Mark and Orochimaru Absorb, going into battle with Sekitachi and Samihara Fuse Kisame and Deidara and Sasori. You're going to be in a similar situation Momoshiki found himself in according to the Boruto movie novel. 1 versus 1, he was sure that he could fight Naruto and Sasuke in their states where Naruto didn't have 50% of his power and Sasuke was working with less chakra. Momoshiki was sure that he could win a one-on-one, but 2 versus 1, even though they weren't at full power, they dogged him out. Sasuke versus those 4, that's something where you got to go, Jesus Christ. He's going to get in some good shots and he's going to hold his own for a second, but they're taking him down the minute that they figure out all of his attack patterns, and that's just talking about straight hands. That's not even including all the hacks abilities. As for Konohamaru, it does look like he just got Shikamaru placed on the hot seat here, but I want to hold off before weighing in on that because I want to look at a few things. I want to cross-reference some stuff from some older chapters. For the most part, this is a very action-heavy chapter, and there's quite a bit more that takes place, but I'm saving that for the review, which again should be out in the next 2 to 3 days, since I'll be sending the audio to the review editor tonight. But there's a massive time zone difference. He's over in India. I'm in the US on the East Coast, so big time zone difference. Again, don't forget to support the official release on the 18th because it's free to read on Manga Plus and on the Viz Media Shonen Jump app. In the meantime, click here to check out the newest video from Naruto Explained or this new video from my Anime Explained channel where I talk about other anime and manga besides Naruto and Boruto.